It was the food. The cheese was just a block of plastic. Have you ever seen what mozzarella is supposed to look like? And I slowly started realizing that everything tasted chemically.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing another TikTok Reacts video. That is correct. That is the channel, actually, TikTok Reacts. You can find the link to the original video in the description section down below. And this one is going to be, what's something Europe has changed in your mind as an American, part 1. I really enjoy the other ones that I've done by this channel, the other compilations, like how's your concept of freedom changed after moving abroad? You know, what's the dumbest thing an American's ever said to you? Stuff like that. So now we're going to jump into this one about what is something Europe has changed in your mind as an American. Let's do it. Like and subscribe.
Americans who've been to or traveled to Europe, what's something Europe has changed in your mind that now you can't let go?
Okay, I could do 100 of these, but I'm going to start with politics. See, in America, what we think we have is this: a nice equal system where the extreme left and the extreme right are basically the same distance apart. But in reality, if you're going to be on the extreme right, which you basically have to be if you're going to be in the Republican Party, basically anybody to the left of you looks like a communist by comparison. Now, I would say this is the European model. Now, these people over here, your Trumps, your QAnons, to them, this person who's to the right of even the most staunch anti-government European probably looks like a socialist by comparison. And the problem that brings for somebody who's actually on the left is that there's no way to compromise with somebody who's this far away from you on the spectrum without some of your beliefs or actions falling somewhere in the far right wing. What that means in a practical sense is when these people say it's okay for cops to kill black people in the street, is how we end up with a president whose extreme left view is to shoot them in the leg and not the heart.
Wow. So on that one, I will say I'm not political. I don't view myself as left or right or whatever. I'm just me. I have my viewpoints and that's it. No one's going to change my viewpoints. I don't know if you want to call me left or right or whatever. I think both sides can have good points, but neither side is full of good points. You know what I mean? Like, there's flaws everywhere, guys, for sure.
Well, I live here, so it might be a bit biased. But not having a very solid life plan at the age of 18, you know, kind of staying single until you're in your 30s and not having kids until you're in your 30s and, you know, not feeling like a functional adult until you're, well, within your mid-30s is okay. It's fine.
Well, good, because I still don't feel like a functioning adult.
Also, the medical care here is so cheap and accessible that it allows people like me at 40 to just go play American football.
I was living in France for 7 months, so I would say it changed my lifestyle a lot. Firstly, I was living in
accessible that allows
7 months, so I would say it
changed to just go play American football.
I was living in France for 7 months, so I would
okay.
say it changed my lifestyle a lot. Firstly, I can't even wear Crocs outside anymore, like, or any really like athletic clothing to any place other than the gym. I'm not doing it. I'm also not in a rush to do anything, to go anywhere, to finish my food. I'm not in a rush to do anything. I love eating in now. Like, I don't want to eat in the car. I don't want to eat in a drive-thru. I just want to sit and eat. Lastly, I would say diet and exercise. I find myself parking further away so that I can walk because I walked so much in France. And then I'm also not eating the same things I used to eat because they didn't have Pop-Tarts. They didn't have all this sugar that we eat in the U.S. all over the place. And if they did, it was rated an F. So you don't even want to eat that.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to stay away from, I drink a lot, I put a lot of sugar in my coffee. I used to. I've been trying to actually stay away from that. I'm trying to get healthier. I haven't put any sugar in my coffee lately, just a little creamer. I'm trying to eat better and everything. Yeah. Oh, and in the rush thing, I'm not in a rush for anything either. Just kick back, relax, chill, and enjoy your life, right?
Hey, I was born and raised in America. I came to the UK when I was 21. I broke my ankle not long after I got here and had a full operation, full physiotherapy for months, was looked after by doctors for months. Do you know how much it cost me? Nothing. It cost me nothing.
Jeez.
I had my daughter here. I had full prenatal care. I tried to have a home birth and I had a few teams of midwives, and a doctor in attendance at my home. It turned into an emergency. I was taken to hospital and ended up having her in the hospital. And you know how much it cost me? Nothing. Yes, I do pay national insurance, but it's like, I don't know, £10 a month or something. I don't know, maybe it's more. I'm not sure what I pay, but it's not very much. And my healthcare is free.
I wonder how long she's lived in the UK, because it sounds like she's got a slight, like a few words that she said kind of almost had like a British accent to it. So she's assimilating.
Hi, I'm an American living in Germany, and my wake-up call was realizing that the fact that I'm mortified of calling 911 in the US is not normal. In the US, you don't call 911 unless it is a near-death experience
Right.
because that shit's expensive. You either take some Advil, chug some water, and sleep it off, or if that doesn't work, someone can rush you to the urgent care.
Yeah, don't use an ambulance. They'll charge you like $4,000.
But we still don't call 911.
Nope.
And that's not normal.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been seeing a lot in these reactions and stuff, like how drastically different that part of it is. Like in America, people don't take care of their health. You know, they put it off because it's like doctor bills and stuff can be so expensive. Even if you have insurance, like you have to charge, they charge you like a deductible or whatever it's called. So like you're already paying all this money each month for insurance, and then you got to pay a deductible on top of it just to even use your insurance.
There has to be a deeper reason behind why America and Japan are the only countries in the world that wash their eggs. And if I know anything about how America likes to cut corners, save $1 at the expense of the people, I don't feel like I will like the answer once I get it.
That is true. We're always trying to cut corners and save cost here so they can make as much profit. You know, it's probably because the eggs are just less quality, so they have to, because it's probably just so ridden full of bacteria or something. Like I did a reaction on why our eggs are illegal to be sold in Europe, and I think it did mention something about that, like salmonella or something, because of just the poor quality. Like they have to wash them. Whereas in other countries, they just come right out the chicken, right onto the shelf.
So I've had the luxury of being in Sweden for about like 4 months now. And the first thing I noticed when I got here was the quality of the food. The quality of the food is so much better than what it is back home in the US. Even the fucking McDonald's, like you can tell the food is real, like it's real chicken, it's real beef. It's real fucking food. And compared to back home, nah. Like we have a lot more options of like fast food and all that type shit back home.
Yeah.
But the quality of the food is just so much better here. It's fresh, it's real. And back home, hell no. Like I would never eat Burger King back home. But here in Sweden, it just tastes so fucking good for some reason.
Nice.
Also the safeness. Like I have not felt unsafe not once while I've been here in Gothenburg. So yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I see all the time is the food. The food quality. Even if you're ordering the same exact food item here versus in Europe, it's going to be better quality in Europe for whatever reason. Like even though it's the same item, you know, you're getting this same specific menu item, it's just crap here.
This is going to sound strange, but the milk in America really creeps me out.
What?
I'm not American, I'm British, but I live in America. And back home, our milk goes off within a few days of opening it. And it stinks, like it's got lumps in it, you can tell that it's off.
Ugh.
But the milk in America legit lasts for like weeks. And that really creeps me out. I don't know if I'm going crazy.
I never thought about it. Like, I mean, it's just normal for me, but are they putting a bunch of preservatives and stuff in the milk too, which can't be good? I mean, that's probably causing cancer, but wow, I never really thought about that.
How cheap it is to travel. This is applicable for the rest of the world, not just Europe. But accommodations and public transportation is so cheap in Europe. And traveling is a lifestyle. It's so different in the United States. Like if you want to travel cheap in the US, you got to hitchhike, got to be a dirty kid, you got to train hop. People still do that in Europe, but you don't have to. You can stay at hostels for $10 a night. You can get a train ticket to a different country for $20. You can ride the subway across the city for $1. and it'll take 15 minutes. Now,
Wow.
of course, this depends on what city you are in Europe, but you're also encouraged to travel there, unlike the United States where everything revolves around working.
Yeah, nobody has time to travel here or the money.
Very simple. Public transport. You can't tell me in the majority of U.S. cities that people openly take public transport and are confident, feel safe, feel like it can get them anywhere. Public transport, 100%. Like, I don't know what I would do without public transport in the UK. Even if I got a car, the idea that you can jump on a train to get from one side to the next side of the city, the idea that even from a standpoint of like trains and transportation in general is just much better in European countries. Like, if you disagree, bit.
Yeah, that's another reoccurring thing during these reactions is the public transportation sucks here. I never really paid too much attention to it, you know, before doing these reactions and stuff like that. But like, yeah, it's almost non-existent. Like, and it's not cheap. It's certainly not cheap, and it's very, very limited.
That they overfeed us, and our portion control is outrageous, and the food quality that we have in America, it's trash.
Yep. But, you know, to the portion sizes, I don't know, because I've seen videos of people getting food and stuff and meals at other, you know, places in other countries. And it seems like they have pretty decent sized portions too. So I don't know if that's just something that's been inflated or if it's just like specialty meals that have like the massive portions. But I've seen some big portions in some of the videos that I've seen in other countries. But then again, I've also seen very, very tiny portions. And it's like, how does that even fill you up?
Would you also accept the submission of the culture shock a European gets when we come to the States?
Okay.
Mind you, when they told me that we were going to go live in the States, I was stoked. Because for me, the US was Six Flags, Universal Studios, Disneyland, In-N-Out Burger. But over time, I started falling in a sort of uncanny valley. There was the food. The cheese was just a block of plastic. Have you ever seen what mozzarella is supposed to look like? And I slowly started realizing that everything tasted chemically. So you have ginormous vegetables, but they taste like nothing. I realized that the difference in volume is just made up of water. Now I realize why so many of you, in order to spice your food, you have to put powdered garlic and powdered onion instead of the real thing. It's because it's dehydrated. You need less volume to get the same punch. But go get thee some garlic in the Mediterranean. It will knock you off your feet. It is pungent. You just use the fresh thing. You don't need the powdered version. And I know what I'm on about because I have been to Gilroy, your capital of garlic. Honestly, meh. Sorry, but yeah. Then there's sugar everywhere, even in the bread. And for a nation that is so obsessed with sugar, how do you consistently get your candy so wrong? I'm sorry, but I'm not letting you off the hook until we talk about corn candy. What the fuck is that? Does anyone actually eat that? Why is it so popular? Have you ever had a nice like French gelée? Oh my god. Have you ever had candied violet petals?
I've never heard of it.
Already covered how weird your chocolate tastes. Everything was just consistently in this kind of uncanny valley. Like, the house is made of drywall. Where's the stone? Where's the cement? Where's the brick? I mean, I was a kid, but after a while, my mother asked me, how are you liking living in the States? And apparently I said, it's creepy because it's like Disneyland, but without the fun.
Oh, wow.
Everything looks like the thing, but isn't the thing. I mean, I could go on, but you brought food as an example, and I just thought I'd respond in kind. You know, I know it's difficult to leave the States, but if you get a chance, come back. Welcome you with open arms. But I'm gonna leave on a positive note for you. There are a few things that nobody can do like the US. These are not gonna be like gotchas. Number one, peanut butter, amazing, and it's a you thing. Number two.
Yeah, we do have some good peanut butter.
But this is my main thing. New York cheesecake. Nobody in Europe does it like you. They do this weird no-bake cheesecake. Not the same thing. Cherry pie. Anything Cajun spiced.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Cajun's good.
Your Napa Valley white wines are okay also. Not amazing, but okay. Red velvet cake. Insanely good. Pancakes and French toast. Your breakfast slaps, but I could only eat it if I was really hungover. Do you want more culture shock examples? Let me know.
That was a whole list. Jeez. All true, though, I'm sure. All true.
I went to Europe in 2018 when I graduated college, and I went by myself on a tour group. I was there for about a month, but because I knew I was gonna be traveling so much, I had only packed a carry-on. And I was so excited. By the time I got to Europe, I realized I didn't pack my hairbrush. And at the time, my hair was much longer, and I was wearing a wash and go for this trip. So anyway,
what's a wash and go?
My hair was much longer, and I was wearing a wash and go for this trip.
Okay, well I don't know what a wash and go is, but oh, is it just like a hair cap thing that they call them do-rags or something? I don't know.
So anyway, while I was traveling, I met friends and I told them hey, I need to find a hairbrush. They were like, oh, we'll just go to the supermarket. And I was like, no, I need a different brush. It's not the same. I know it when I find it. When I tell you I spent the entire month searching for a hairbrush for black hair, my hair looked crazy. Nobody knew because it was. And it made me realize that even though I complain about America all the time, I still have access to hair products that are made for me. Braids next time.
That's very interesting, actually. It took her a whole month to find a hairbrush that was made for her hair. But yet in Europe, she can get it wherever. Oh, that's the end of it. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. If you want to see me do more of this specific one, what's something has changed in your mind as an American, let me know. If you like it, hit like, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And you guys have a super fun, awesome day. Take care. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing another one of the TikTok compilation reactions that I did, sort of like the one that I did recently. This one's called, What's the Dumbest Thing an American Has Ever Said to You? Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure we've all heard some dumb Americans say, Americans say dumb things. I'm probably guilty of it as well. Anyways, the links to the original video will be in the description section down below, so make sure you go check that out. Show the original channel some love. Head over there, hit like on their video. We're going to check this out. What's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you? I'm sure this one's going to be a good one. Right here, let's check it out.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I am Italian and I go to college in the US. I was on a phone call with my advisor to schedule my classes for spring semester, okay? So at some point he goes wait, you're Italian. I love Paris. I've been there a few years ago. And I told him, yeah, I love Paris too. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful place. I've been there a few years ago too. And he goes I also took some French classes in high school too.
Talking about Italy, right?
And I was like, yeah, French. Yeah, I know French because I studied it at school. And he goes wait, you studied it at school? And I goes yeah, I studied it because in Italy, we don't speak French and Paris isn't in Italy. So yeah, that's it. In Italy, we speak Italian. In the capital of Italy is Rome. And
that's funny.
Oh my God, how could I forget? Man.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Excuse me, why do you speak Spanish? Well, a lot of my friends speak Spanish, so I decided to teach myself. It's not hard. You don't look Mexican. I'm not. I'm black. Wait, so you're black and you speak Spanish? And your English seems okay. Yes, black people can learn other languages. I mean, I guess, but it doesn't make sense that you speak Spanish if you're not Mexican.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Alright, so I had an American girl message me on Instagram the other day expressing how she's keen for marriage and whatnot. I wasn't interested for multiple reasons, so I thought the easiest and nicest way to let her down would be to state the obvious fact that we're from different countries. So I told her, you're from America, I'm from Australia, it's probably not going to work. And she had the audacity to say, it's okay, I can sponsor you. Sponsor? Bitch, what? Do they not teach Americans that there's other countries in the world where people are living happily? Not all.
Right, yeah, it's funny.
All of us are chasing that American dream. Our kangaroos in Australia are more civilized than your people, and our spiders are nicer than your people. Why would I want to move to America? Sponsor?
I'm kind of curious, what?
That's funny because it is this weird misconception in this country that all other countries are shit. I don't know why. It's just this weird propaganda or something that they push. They don't really I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's what you're misinformed about here. But clearly it's not true.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I'm traveling in Australia, I'm in a hostel in Brisbane, and there's this American couple. I ask them where they're from, they tell me they're from Alabama. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, I've never been to America. And they're like, oh really? But America's so close to Jamaica. And I'm thinking, what? And I say, oh well, I'm not from Jamaica. Oh, well, sure you are, you sound Jamaican to me. Like, well, I'm actually from Wales. And the girl looks at me, and she starts giving me a glare. I'm like, oh God, what have I said? Like, have I offended them in some way? And they're like, you can't say you're from a fake country. That is so offensive. And I'm like, well, Wales is a real country. No, it's not. It's an animal. Like, no, it's a real country. Who do you think Charles is? You know, Queen Elizabeth's son. Like, he's Prince of Wales. Oh yeah, he's Prince of the Animals. Everybody knows that he owns all the whales in the world.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Wow, that lady thought she was talking about the whales from the ocean. Good. Gee. Wow.
There was a Haitian kid in my class, and they said, hey, Biko, you're from Kenya. They're from Haiti. So y'all both from Africa, right? Someone said I don't count as African American because my family is from Africa and I was born in America. I've had someone legitimately tell me, if they didn't want to be slaves, why didn't they fight back? Once people found out that the darker the color, the more heat it absorbs, it was pretty much over for me every summer because someone was going to call out the fact that, oh, you're really dark, so you must be really hot right now. People ask me if I speak African a lot. No matter what the athletic accolade I get, someone is going to say it's because I'm black. No, seriously, they're just going to be like, oh, you're dark skinned. Of course you're the fastest on the team. Okay. Stupidity is in no way a specifically American trait, but when Americans do it, damn, they do it well.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I once flew from London to Houston, and when I got to the border, the TSA agent took my British passport, my return ticket to London, and then proceeded to ask me, where did I learn how to speak English? And when I kind of said, England, she said, oh, you guys speak English out there too?
Wow.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I live in Arizona, and I graduated high school here. But one of my first days in high school, this girl sat next to me in English class. She was like, "Oh, where you from?" And then I tell her I'm from Denmark, and she's like, "Oh, isn't that in Chicago?"
Curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Oh my god, I can make a lot of these because I studied in the US as a non-American for like a year, so I've heard a lot of crazy shit, but here's one of them. So I was with a group of Americans and we were discussing whether or not we had seen a celebrity in public yet, because we were in New York, and sometimes in New York you can just see like Zendaya walking around the street. And I had just gotten there, so I had not seen a celebrity yet, so I was telling them how in Prague that doesn't happen. But then I told them that I had seen a famous Czech YouTuber walking around my neighborhood once. And this girl was like, wait, Czech YouTuber? I don't get it. And I was like, what do you not get? And she was like, does he make videos in Czech? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, how does he do that? YouTube is in English. And I was like, no, it's what? And she was like, yeah, like the videos in YouTube are English because YouTube is in English. Hello, it's for English speakers. And I was like,
it's for every...
I had to explain to this girl that most of YouTube is not in English and that like the whole world uses YouTube in their own language. And she was still confused.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Americans, man, you're making us look bad, guys. You got to stop with this stupidity. Come on now.
When I was a senior in high school, I was a teacher assistant for one of the U.S. history classes. And let me tell you, some interesting things were said by those students. My favorite being this. We were discussing whether or not Puerto Rico should become an actual state and not just a territory of the United States. We're having a perfectly good conversation until this one girl raises her hand. And her question was, but if we make Puerto Rico a state, where would we put it? A few moments go by and me and the teacher are looking each other in the eye and we're just like, oh my god. And then she kind of takes a moment and goes, oh, and we're like, thank God, like she figured it out. No, her response was,
she didn't.
We could just put it where Rhode Island is. No one cares about Rhode Island.
Wow.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I'm Mexican, and I was working in Tulum. One day I was talking with this girl, and she said to me, I really wanted to visit Mexico in Cinco de Mayo to see your Independence Day. Sorry, what? Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, your Independence Day?
Wow.
Oh, actually, our Independence Day is on September 16. Don't lie to me. I know South American history, and I know that Mexico Independence Day, it's on Cinco de Mayo.
Why would you argue?
Well,
with
actually,
why would you, if you don't know, and this dude's from Mexico, why would you argue with him? It's his holiday.
you know, Mexico's North America, and you can Google that. Actually, you can see that Mexico's Independence Day is on September 16. Oh my God, you have Google? Yes. Why? I mean, I'm really surprised that you can speak English and use Google.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Oh, I was made for this. Okay, so when I first moved here, I was in 6th grade, and I was getting enrolled to this middle school, and I was meeting up with the assistant principal. And basically, she asked me from where I was from, and I'm like, oh, I'm from Colombia, like I just moved here. And then she's like, oh my God, really? So do y'all live in trees and eat alligators for breakfast?
That's offensive, ain't it?
Last time I remember, I was living in a very nice house, eating pan de bono with some chocolisto, but that's fine.
I'm kind of curious. What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I was an exchange student in the US, and I would randomly get asked by questions. And then one time I said I was Asian because Philippines is in Southeast Asia. And then they literally said, Philippines is in Asia? I thought it was in Europe.
Wow. In Europe.
Girl.
Even I know that
One
one.
time I was in the bus, I got asked, do you have school? Do you have farm animals in the Philippines?
Yes.
Do you know what an iPhone is?
See, that's the thing, is all these dumbass Americans, they think like they're treating other people like they're the dumb ones, but they're not. The Americans are the dumb ones by asking these questions. You sound stupid by asking somebody if they know how to use Google or if they know what an iPhone is. Of course they do. Come on now.
Girl, would you think of some sort of a different planet? Like, this is why you need to go to school. God.
What's a piece of information that you learned that feels illegal to know?
If you have like 6 months to spare and you email IKEA and be like, hey, I think I'm missing a piece of this table set, slowly, one by one, piece by piece, month by month, you get that table for free.
What's one really bad thing you did as a child that you kept secret for your entire life and didn't tell nobody?
I have too many of these, okay? And a lot of them involve my grandma's house. As you guys know, my mom used to work 2-3 jobs, and she had to sometimes leave me over there. She hated it, I hated it, it was a whole thing. But my grandma was very abusive verbally and physically. So one day I got sick of her shit. And she took like 8 medications. I'm gonna burn in hell for this. One day she was really mean to me, so I dumped out all of her medications onto the dining room table, shook them up, and then mixed them all together and started to pour them back into their various bottles, making sure that they didn't go into the bottles they were supposed to go. Thinking to myself, it don't matter which one she grabs, she grab it, oh well. Is she not supposed to take that one? Oh well, I don't care. Also thinking to myself, if she died, oh well. I was 5. Mom knows this story. The only reason she stopped is because my aunt called me.
Is this not part of the...
Set the house on fire. Turning the oven on and shutting all the windows. I'm going outside and waiting. My uncle stopped that one.
Is she the... I'm confused on that one. Was she the dumb American? Okay. Alrighty then.
If you've had pretty privilege like your whole life, can you stitch this and...
Yes, girl, let's talk about it because it needs to be talked about. Okay, so let me get my...
Okay, so yeah, I think this is just random stuff now at this point. But that was some crazy stuff. What is the dumbest thing an American has said to you? And wow, some of those Americans are dumb. So anyways, hit like, hit subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. All right, take care.
Literally, I look like I've got a foot in the grave. And then just look at me and they tell me to go home and rest. It blows my mind. I'm like ready for them to fire me because I'm being a little bit less productive that day.
Exactly. Like around here, that's how it is. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I've done what's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you a couple times. The last one was recently. Very much enjoyed it. So I found this from the same channel, which the original channel is TikTok Reacts, just so you know. And there will be a link in the description section down below for that. So make sure you go check that out. This one is, how has your concept of freedom changed? as an American living abroad, part 1. So I'm assuming they're going to be doing, or they already have done, more parts of this. So let's do it. How has your concept of freedom changed as an American living abroad?
If you're an American that has moved abroad, how has your concept of freedom changed? Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that you won't get unexpected medical bills? Do you prefer the freedom of being able to spend more time with your family due to shorter work weeks? Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that the government has minimum employment standards, like guaranteed paid time off of between 20 and 40 paid days off a year, depending on which country you've moved to? Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that if you hear fireworks, you can encourage your children to look out the window rather than questioning whether it's something else you should be afraid of?
Oh boy.
Do you prefer the freedom of knowing that freedom of speech doesn't extend to unlimited campaign bribes that corporations can invest in politicians to get them to do their bidding instead of yours? So yeah, how has your concept of freedom changed?
So what he was talking about the like the paid time off and this and that. In America, maternity leave is only 6 weeks for the mother, unpaid. Your job's secure, but unpaid 6 weeks. Over in Europe, I heard in one of the videos I reacted to that it's not just for the mother, it's also for the father, and it's not unpaid leave, it's paid leave, and it's longer than 6 weeks. I don't remember how much longer, but certainly longer than 6 weeks. Also, the freedom of healthcare, the freedom of education, stuff like that is more strong and more prevalent in Europe. And what was the other one? Oh yeah, vacation time, holiday time, as you guys call it. Over here, you're lucky to get a week or two off work for vacation time. And that's usually after you've worked there for like a year before you're eligible for it or whatever. In Europe, evidently, as soon as you get the job or as soon as your trial period or whatever's over, probationary period, whatever you call it, you're eligible for your paid vacation, and it's certainly longer than just a week or two. Yeah. So that's, that's a little bit of what I know. And also over there, there's a saying, I guess, your freedom ends where somebody else begins. So basically you have the freedom as long as your freedom isn't restricting somebody else's freedom or something like that. So anyways, tangent over, whatever. We're going to get into this.
My understanding of freedom has changed dramatically since I moved abroad. And it started with unpicking just how much the word freedom is used as a dog whistle in the USA. The concepts of liberty and freedom are repeated so often and across so many channels. They become indelibly connected to this idea that America is the greatest. People come from elsewhere in the world to America for freedom, to the land of the free, the home of the brave. This kind of rhetoric. And it's everywhere, so it becomes kind of part of the fabric of reality.
Yeah, they push it down your throat so much over here. It's basically propaganda.
I had to say the Pledge of Allegiance every day for the first 4 years of my elementary school career. The last line of it is, with liberty and justice for all. And it's not liberty and justice for all. It's liberty and justice for a few in America. And it's
yeah, there's a huge inequality here. The gap between the rich and the poor is just getting bigger and bigger.
a very small demographic. So my understanding of freedom changed when I started to unpack how much we are inundated with freedom propaganda in the USA.
Exactly. Propaganda, like she said.
So I spent like 16 months living in Europe. 4 when I was in undergrad and then a year in grad school. And even though I already had a sense of this before I went to live there, it really struck me that no matter where I needed to go, like across the city, across the country, or to a completely different country, I never really needed a car. Like I can count on my fingers the number of times in 16 months that I needed to get a taxi, and I never needed to rent a car because public transit was just always so reliable. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And here we associate cars with freedom, but that freedom comes at a cost. And it's an even higher cost if you don't own a car. And you've probably experienced this if you've had to like drop your car off for inspection or maintenance. Because while you're waiting to get your car back, you are stranded. You realize when you're on foot just how much of this country is built for cars. And that's a pretty warped sense of freedom.
Yeah, and it's car dependent. Like if you don't live in a city, I mean, even if you live in a city, scratch that. So yeah, even living in the middle of a city, a lot of times the public transportation sucks. And like downtown, might be all the businesses and office buildings and stuff, right? But there's no housing usually downtown in a lot of these cities. Um, I think New York's an exception. I believe there is a lot of like apartments and stuff like that in the city of New York. But just your general average city in America, your housing is off in the suburbs somewhere outside of the city. So then you have like the business district where the offices would be, for any paperwork or like appointments that you got to go to. And then you got like your shopping malls and like all your stores, for groceries and food will be in a whole nother section of town. And then like on the other side of town, you would have like your factories and all your workplaces all in, so you're it's just so scattered, and you pretty much have to have a car to even get around. Whereas over in Europe, everything's kind of mixed up together and everything. And like he was saying, there's a ton of people over there that don't even have a car and don't even need a car, especially in the Netherlands.
There are a lot of different things I could say for this question, but one of the things that feels very relevant to everything going on in the States as far as the Supreme Court goes is how Ireland changes their constitution. Now, this isn't exactly freedom necessarily, and it wasn't something that I was able to actively participate in because I don't have my citizenship yet. But I've been here for 2 referendums, the same-sex marriage referendum as well as the repeal the 8th referendum. For both of these important issues, a citizens' assembly was organized and done before the actual referendum took place.
I don't know what the 8th is. I don't know what that means.
And the entire country voted to decide whether or not to allow same-sex marriages to happen based on the Constitution and whether there was a right to an abortion. Both of these passed.
Okay, so that must have been the 8th thing she was talking about.
This type of direct democracy was incredibly refreshing to experience.
He made so many good points. For me, it was realizing that my perception of what makes a good quality of life was actually so low in the view of an Australian that it's a bit embarrassing. I actually met another American and she's like, oh, I find it so easy to get along here. I feel really guilty because my Australians have the opposite. They're talking about how difficult it is. And we really said that we realize it's because we're given so much less. Like imagine making $7.25 an hour and trying to live in a city that is expensive as what things are right now, like particularly a city on the West Coast or East Coast in the States, or even at $10 an hour, try to get by on that. And so we're just happy that we can like pay the bills on your minimum wage and it's not stressing us like we're not in debt. It was
yeah, that's real. Minimum wage has been $7.25 in the state of India. Every state's different. Like New York City or New York State or whatever, $15 an hour, right? But of course, cost of living's higher. In the state of Indiana, where I live at, it's $7.25, and it's been $7.25 for probably 20 years. Inflation's going up, groceries are going up, gas is going up, rent, house payments, all that's going up, but your pay ain't going up none.
Part of it was I went to university here and I tell them where I went. They're like, that's so expensive. How did you go there? And I'm like, as an American, like this is a pretty normal cost for university. So imagine it being so normalized that you're supposed to pay through the nose for your education. Right. And then the last thing was the time off. Like I already work in a good industry in project management here, but I took on another job just because I was impressed by the wages in hospitality. And Australians are like, you need to chill. Like, chill out. Take a break. You don't need 2 jobs. I'm like, no, I don't need 2 jobs, but like, you pay so well, I should have 2 jobs. And like, that's terribly American and probably pretty toxic.
Yeah, that's terrible. I'm the other way around. Like, I don't need to be rich. I don't need to have a ton of stuff. If I have enough to pay my bills, buy food, and get by, I'm happy. I'd rather enjoy my free time than just have a stack of cash sitting around that I can't take to the grave with me any damn way. You know what I mean?
And then if I'm not feeling well at work, they say go home, take a rest.
You don't have that here. Certainly you do not have that here. They tell you, oh yeah, you have sick days. Good luck getting them. You call in sick and they act like you're lying. Like it's like you got to walk on eggshells. You're afraid for losing your job, and they'll just sit there and they'll pick on you and push you out. Sometimes they'll just look for the dumbest reasons to fire you just because you had the flu one day, and they act like you're lying if you even have to call into work, and it's like you're breaking their arm just to get a sick day. It's ridiculous.
Come back when you're ready. That is unheard of. My managers have always said, suck it up. Like, just do it. So they'll see me like, literally, I look like I've got a foot in the grave. And they'll just look at me and they'll tell me to go home and rest. It blows my mind. I'm like ready for them to fire me because I'm being a little bit less productive that day.
Exactly. Like around here, that's how it is.
Because I've seen that happen. I've had plenty of places in the States I've seen employees get fired because they weren't well and they weren't productive. They just bring in someone else to fill that space to be exploited. So it's just insane to me. You're used to a higher quality and standard of living here in Australia. The lowest of your low is so high to me. I'm like impressed by it. I'm like, ooh, okay, let's do this. This is lavish.
I wish it was like that here, man. It just sucks because it's like, you know, nobody really wants to leave their country. This is where it's where you're from. It's where your culture is. It's all your friends, all your family. But realizing how the world is, it's like, you know, it's much better off in a lot of these other places. But being stuck here in the situation I'm in, I can't, you know, I do have family. I do have stuff holding me back, you know, and it would probably be at least 5 years before I would even be able to go anywhere. It's just a lot to it, you know. It's just, you know, to just pack up and leave, you know. And then the way the world's going right now, it's kind of like scary to even think about moving to Europe or something, even though that's a dream of mine. I would love to move to the Netherlands. With my luck, as soon as I get over there, World War III is going to pop off. You know what I mean?
So I'm an American living in Finland, and immediately yes to everything in that video. Yes to the freedom of no longer fearing gun violence, no longer fearing medical bills, having labor rights and workers' rights and a livable minimum wage. All of that, absolutely. But I think for me, the biggest freedom that I enjoy as an American living not in America is the freedom from the fear of sexual violence and the freedom from rape culture and the daily sexual violence that I experienced in America. And I lived in big, liberal, progressive cities like Boston and San Francisco, and every time I left the house, I was catcalled, I was grabbed, I was sexually assaulted. I have experienced daily sexual violence.
That's sad. And yeah, that is a thing too. Like, I don't do that. I can't stand it. But like, you do see that other guys and stuff they'll catcall, they'll whistle, they'll say derogatory remarks. I don't understand it. I've never understood it. It's not everywhere. It's definitely situational on where you're located. So evidently Boston and whatever else she said, you know, is bad about that. But usually if you go to a bigger city, you know, not necessarily so much around the places that I live, but like if you go to Chicago or, you know, Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is probably a bigger, one of the closer, bigger cities around me, or South Bend, or, you know, somewhere like that, Indianapolis. But it is sad, and I don't understand. It's like, it's just a complete lack of respect. It really is.
For the entirety of my life that I can remember in America. And when I moved to Finland, and for the first couple of months that I lived here, was living in Helsinki, and I never once felt afraid to walk in any part of the city at any time, day or night, wearing
Nice.
any amount of clothing, including in the
Whoops.
summer when I was wearing shorts and a tank top. And I never once was sexualized or harassed or catcalled or made to feel like a sexual object. And I think that is a freedom that I didn't even imagine being possible. And that is the freedom that I am most grateful for having left America.
You know, that's one thing. That's one thing that I never really even thought about necessarily, as a difference, because I'm a man and it could happen, but generally men, you know, don't get sexually assaulted or catcalled or anything like that. So it's not really anything that I've personally experienced. And like I said, around here, people don't really do that much. It's really only like if you go to like bigger cities and stuff where there's a lot of like, I call them street rats. I think I got that from the Aladdin movie, but around here they're just like, you know, wannabe thugs or like, you know, wannabe gangbangers, and you know, it's ridiculous. But for some reason they have that mentality that they think it's okay. It's like I don't get it, guys. I don't get it, but I could totally see how that's a relief for her not having to deal with that, because you know it's got to be demoralizing, and you know, to be treated that way.
Let me introduce you to my medical box. What? As an international student on a student visa in the UK, I pay £470 as my immigration healthcare surcharge fee. That means over the course of the 6 years that I've lived here, I've paid a total of £2,820 for my healthcare. And that's it. There's been no prescription costs, there's been no emergency hospitalization costs, and I've had to use all of the healthcare a lot. I have endometriosis, I've been diagnosed as a celiac while I've been here, and I get food on prescription through the NHS.
I don't know what those two disorders that she has are. That sucks for her. I wish her the best. But food, how do you get food on your prescription thing? Like that's not, I've never heard of that. Of course, I'm not in the UK, but that's crazy.
Because I can't have gluten. And not having to pay anything extra for
Okay.
my healthcare means that I've had freedom to do things like, I got a cat.
Look at that little fluffy thing. I want a cat like that. That'd be cool. We had a cat. It ran away. I miss it so much. I want to get a Maine Coon. Those things are massive. Do you guys have Maine Coons over there? Because they are domestic, like native to like the state of Maine, and I think maybe like some of them looked like a raccoon or something at the time, and I mean they get different color variations, but I think that's where the name came from, because it looked like a raccoon, but really big, from Maine. It's the largest domestic cat you can get here, or the largest cat in general you can get here without having like a special permit. But anyways, if you're an American watching my videos and you're living in another country, comment down below, add to it. How has your concept of freedom changed as an American living abroad, right? This was a fun video. You guys have a super fun, awesome day. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right, take care. Bye.